All right. All right. Yesterday, we learned about the Jewish people in the moon. And the Rebbe is giving us this very unusual idea about why the Jewish people are compared to the moon. And okay, what's the idea? The idea is that the job of the Jewish people is supposed to be to reveal the essence of God in the world, to reveal not just the creator, but the motivation for the creator, the essence of the creator to create the world. Huh? And we're teaching us, the Chassidut teaches us that God is creating the world all the time. So this reason is being revealed all the time. That's the whole force that's creating us, is this reason why God is creating. So this reason. And not only that, God is creating everything. He's creating everyone. So every human being, somehow or other, is advertising this reason why God's creating the world. Everyone. Oh, good morning. Good morning. Okay, so do we see this? Not exactly. So the Rebbe said, that's the idea of the moon. What's the moon? The moon gets bigger and bigger. And as the moon gets bigger and bigger, that's the revelation of the sun reflecting into the world. That's what. So the sun is the source of life, light. And the sun, in this case, it represents, of course, it's the metaphor. So, and the sun represents the source of all creation. And it shines off the moon. That's the Jewish people. So the moon. So the source of all the light is the sun, right? So the Rebbe said, wrong. That's not so. In the beginning of creation, it says that the sun and the moon both received from the same source. That the moon and the sun were of equal light. It says God created the Shtei Me'orot HaGedolim. He created the two big lights. On the fourth day of creation, look in your Bible, you'll see. It says that God created the two big lights, and then after that, the next sentence, it says, the big light was for the day, and the small light was for the night. There were two big lights. All of a sudden, one of them is small. What happened? So there's all midrash, and it says that one of them complained, and God made it less. In any case, when there were two lights, it was because both of them received from the same source. And that source we don't see. So it ends up that the moon is reflecting, when the moon is full, it's reflecting the light of the sun. And the sun, but it's not original light, it's just reflecting light. But the sun, when it's shining in the daytime, it's also just reflecting light. It's reflecting the light of the source of the light of the sun. Where is the source of the light of the sun? Where do we see the source of the light of the sun? When? It says when the moon is dark. When the moon is dark, so it's shining the side of it of the light that so bright that we can't see it. It's so, how do you call it, real, we can't see it. That's the dark side of the moon. How is this indicated at all? Where does the Rebbe get this wild idea from? So because we see that the Jewish people are counted according to the month, the days of the month. The Jewish people are counted according to the moon. And the days of the month are also according to the moon. So we see an interesting thing, that the days of the month go according to the moon. So it should be that when the moon is getting bigger, the numbers of the days of the month get bigger. And when the moon starts to get smaller, the second half of the month, when the moon gets smaller and smaller, so the number should also go down. So every month should be 30 days long, but we won't count it that way. We'll count it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 15. And then after that, it should go down to 14, 12. But we can say 14B, 13B, the second 14. The first 14 is going from below to above. And the last 14 is going from above to below. That's what it should be. And the last day of the month should be 1B, something like that. Huh? Because we go according to the moon. Look up and see the moon. You can tell which day of the month it is. right? You see which day of the month it is. That it's either the 5th. We don't know if the moon is getting smaller or bigger, but we know it's 14 or 13 or 12 or 1 because it's just a little moon. And when it gets bigger, so it's a bigger number. But that's not the way it goes. The way it goes is that in the beginning of the month, the number gets bigger. And the last part of the month, when the month gets smaller, the moon gets smaller, so the numbers don't get smaller, the numbers get bigger. So it shows that there must be somehow or other when the moon is getting smaller, there's a bigger number, something bigger is being revealed. Okay, what's this got to do with me and you? I mean, let's just say simply from the face of things, we'll do it in a second. From the face of things is that what's the real essence of the Jews is the inside of the Jews. That's not revealed. The Jews are containing something within them that is so incredibly good that it can't be revealed. It can't be revealed in a normal way. Its revelation is just the fact that it's there. That it's there, and it's too big to be understood, too great to be understood. I mean, maybe I'll give you a very weak example. I don't know if it's a big example. Pretty much everybody in the world nowadays is flown in an airplane, right? Very, very few people understand the principles of aerodynamics and propulsion and things like that. I mean, I'm one of those that don't understand. How can it be a plane? How much does a plane weigh? You know, it weighs 1,000 tons. I don't know. Let's just say 1,000. A big block of metal. You get to fly in the air, and people go inside of it. You want to fly it, but don't put people inside of it. No, people go inside. It's a multi-trillion-dollar business, and it's an ordinary thing. Once in a while, God forbid, a plane crashes. Oh, this is a terrible thing. You think exactly the opposite, right? The news should be today a plane actually flew. People got in, and it actually flew in the air. It flew from across the Atlantic Ocean. Can you believe that? Right? Most of the planes, of course, they don't make it. It's too heavy. How can a plane fly in the air? Doesn't make it. But there was one that actually made it through. Big news, everybody, right? But that's not the way it goes. Planes fly. Now, nobody knows what's going on over there. No one has any idea what's flying. There's people that are experts, whatever, right? That they know how propulsion works and how aerodynamics work and how this works. But it's an amazing thing if you think about it. It's secret. So sometimes what's hidden from us are the principles of good that we can't understand, but that's what's revealed, right? What's revealed. It comes out to be flying, and I don't know if that's a good example, but that's just what I mean. The same thing the Jews. The Jews they have something inside of them that's the principle upon which the world, that God exists and God is creating everybody, God cares. This is inside of every Jew, but it's the dark side. You can't see it. It's too high, too much. Okay, let's see if this is right. Yeshlomer, we can say that this whole idea, mudgash biyoter, is especially stressed when the moon is full. When the moon is full, in the month of Kislev. Chodesh Kislev, the month of Kislev, is the 3rd month of the winter months. Now, the Rebbe stressed, if you remember, the Rebbe stressed that Kislev is the Hasidic month. Hasidic month. It's the 10th day of Kislev is when the 2nd Rebbe of Chabad got out of prison. The 19th day of Kislev is when the 1st Rebbe got out of prison 20 years earlier. The 25th day of Kislev is the beginning of the miracle of Chanukah, which that was like 2,500 years earlier. But still, that all happened in the month of Kislev. And it all deals with light. It all deals with oil, I'm sorry, because Chassidut is oil. First Rebbe and the 2nd Rebbe, that's Chassidut. It's like oil. But they all happened in the second half, especially Yutet Kislev and Chanukah. It happened in the second half when the moon is getting less and less, when there's less and less light involved. So the Rebbe said, good, there's maybe less and less visible light, but there's more and more invisible light that's revealed. What's invisible light? We said that's the dark side of the moon. Okay, here we go. That's the month of Kislev. The month of Kislev is the third. That's the Hasidic month. Is in the third of the winter months. The winter months. But after Tishrei, it starts getting colder and colder. It gets less until it finally gets to spring. That's when Passover is, and then things get warmer and warmer. So the third of the winter months, that's Kislev. This is corresponding to the third of the summer months, which that's when the Torah was given. The month of Sivan is when the Torah was given. 3 months after Passover. That's when the Torah was given. Yarcha Tilitai, the third month. And similarly, that when the Torah was given in the third month, this was like really monumental. It's not really written in any history books. It's just too much. I mean, anyway, the God really took the Jews out of Egypt, and with all these weird miracles, and he split the sea, and he gave them bread from heaven, water from a rock, and then he took them to Mount Sinai, and then God spoke to them on the mountain, and 3 million people saw God, and he gave them a book, and the book still exists. That's like, I don't know if there's any history book in the world that has that story, huh? Could be. I mean, I was not a history major in university, but I doubt it very greatly. The third month, so it says that was the third month of the summer months when the Torah was given. Correspondingly is the third month of the winter months when Chassidut was given. So how can you compare the two of them? I mean, come on. The Torah was given with amazing miracles with it. Chassidut, there was no big miracles. It says, this is like the dark side of the moon. In some ways, this is even a bigger miracle. We'll see. The Chodesh, the month when the Torah was given, when the Chassidut was given, that was Yutet Kislev. That this is the beginning and the giving of the Torah of Chassidut. Now, Chassidut is just one branch of Judaism, right? It says, no, that's what it looks like, but it's not. It's not. The same thing as the Jewish people. The Jewish people are just one nation among the whole world. It's not so. The whole world depends on the Jews. Even though the Jews are, 0.2% of the world, the whole world depends on the Jews doing the Torah. Well, all of the Jews depend on Chassidut. Chassidut is the Torah of Moshiach. The whole essence of what Judaism is to bring Moshiach. It could be that that's the reason that these other religions, succeed. Christianity and Islam, they succeed so much, is because the Jews have not advertised the idea of Mashiach properly. People don't know what it is. So therefore, it became hijacked. But really, the fact is that in any case, the world depends on Jews, and the Jews depend on Chassidut. Chassidut, and the essence of Chassidut is Mashiach. Okay, so when the Torah was given, that was a big deal. That was like earth-shaking. When Chassidut was given, who knew about it? Who even knew? The first Rebbe of Chabad got out of prison. Who knew? It was a thing that happened in Russia, and it was an isolated thing with one religious person. It's like this. Just like the giving of how can you compare the giving of the Torah to Chassidut? The giving of the Torah was the day of the marriage of God and the Jewish people. The marriage of God with the Jewish people. That was when the Torah was given. God was the groom, the Jewish people were the bride. That Atchalat at the beginning of this was in a way that God, he came down, and the Jewish people, they were the receivers. But the ultimate completion of this is going to be that God and the Jewish people will be one. And that's a marriage. Shekinah Israel, the Jewish people they won't have to receive from God, so to speak. Why? Because it will be revealed that God and the Jewish people are totally one. The Torah tells us that the Jews are the sons of God, right? Even more in the beginning, when God tells Moses to go into Paro, to let the Jews go out, he says, go in and say to Paro, my son, my chosen one. Jewish, it doesn't say my sons. My son, the Jewish people are like one big son of God. S-O-N. So how can God have a son? That doesn't make any sense. What do you mean God has a son? Well, that's the Jewish people. All those, the mentions in Isaiah and my son, my suffering one, that's all the Jews. Talk about the Jewish people. How can that be? What does it mean? And the Jewish people are the son of God. And says, we don't know what it means. We don't know what it means. But the fact is that it's true. And it started to be revealed on Mount Sinai. That was the beginning. That was like the engagement party. Or if you want to call it, that was the marriage, not the engagement. That was the marriage day, but it wasn't the consummation of the marriage. The Jews and God have not really been totally unified, but in the future they will. This is hinted at the third month. Like we know before that the number 3, remember we just finished learning in Torah Or. The number 3, this indicates on a joining of two opposites together. In this case, the opposite is the highest God and the lowest, which is the world. And they become one. That's 3. We said segula. Remember, I'm segula. We just finished a segel. According to this, we can say that when the moon is full on the 15th day of the month, the 14th, the 15th day of the month, and when it's full in the 3rd month, which that's the month of the giving of the Torah, we're talking about Sivan. That's the day of God's marriage. Then there is the completion of this marriage of God and the Jewish people. Then the light of the moon is equal to the light of the sun, that both the sun and the moon receive from the same place. That the moon, which is the Jewish people, does not need any more to receive from the spiritual levels, which we call HaKodesh Baruch Hu, the God. God has all these spiritual levels, right? That's why we call God masculine. But in the future, the world will shine out the purpose of God. Since that the world itself, the Jewish people themselves, will be like the moon, like the sun. The Jewish people and, so to speak, and God receive from the same source. Okay, let's not get too, we can't get too, how do you say, anthropomorphic about this business. Right? God is not a person, and God is not a level, and God is not a thing. But on the other hand, when God gave the Torah, there it is. God is one thing, and the Jewish people are another thing, and the Torah is another thing, right? And God talks to Adam and says, Adam, do this, and Adam doesn't, and God gets angry. So it seems that God is one character, the main character in the Torah. Sometimes maybe even not the main character. Right? We see that the man does what he wants to. And so as soon as God gave the Torah, he revealed all these different aspects of God. But he did not reveal the essence of God. The essence of God is why is God doing this whole business? Why is he giving the Torah? Why is he creating the world? What does God need all this trouble for? So the answer is that God gets pleasure from the world. God gets pleasure from us. Nachat ruach shamarti v'nasa rotzoni. That's the whole thing of the Holy Temple. And basically, that's the whole thing of all the commandments. And eventually, it's going to be the basic thing of all the Jews. Every moment of our lives will be devoted only to the Creator. When that happens, so the reason for the creation will be united with the creation itself. So the creation itself will scream out the oneness of God. So to speak, you won't have to have, the Jewish people won't be receiving from God anymore. The Jewish people will be giving to God, will be the ones that give God pleasure. Now, of course, this makes no sense whatsoever, but it's true. It's true. That's why we're doing the commandments. We're doing the commandments because the Jewish people and God and the Torah are totally one, and we don't see it, and we don't even know what that means, but it's a fact. Then it's going to be totally one. But Omek Yoter, let's do this a little deeper. A little bit deeper. Now, when the Jewish people and God and the Torah are totally one, then what happens? Basically, nothing physical has to happen differently. The dead will come to rise. That's pretty amazing. But the dead will come, they'll rise. There'll be people. The dead will be people that died, and they'll come back. It's not that all of a sudden there's going to be this big white light and all the angels and everybody will just, fade into oblivion in this, how do you say, the symphony of oneness and harmony, and then that's it. Right? Just be bliss in it. And it's going to be a physical world, and you're going to see Uncle Joe and Uncle Jack. How it's going to be with reincarnations and things, that's God will take care of that. But there will be people, same people that died are going to come back. It says even more that people that died will come back with their diseases, and then they'll be cleared, the diseases that killed them, and then they'll be cured from the diseases. How it's going to be, I don't know, but there will be a physical world, but the physical world will be the way God wants it to be. Like it was when God created it. There wasn't supposed to be any death, and even higher than that. It's almost like, a person being sick. Let's say a person is sick, and he had all sorts of diseases. He was on his way to the hospital to get cured. What is it? The last chance, and all of a sudden, a tank rolled over his car and crushed him totally. Was all totally this, right? And he still is alive. And they bring him to the hospital, and and the doctors say, "Well, I don't know if we can cure you, but maybe we can." And the person says, "Well, 1 second. So after I'm cured, then what? Then what?" I mean, that's ridiculous. After you're cured, then you'll be healthy. Then you can be yourself. Then you can be who you are. That's the same thing. The world is sick. The whole world is sick. We're diseased. We're crushed. We're right? And the whole idea of the Moshiach is coming to heal us. So a person would say, so Moshiach is going to come and we'll be healed. There won't be any more dead people. Well, so what then? Then isn't it going to be boring? Then there's going to really start to be action in the world. Then the world will really be dynamic. That's what God wants. That's what it says, that God and the world will be totally one. We won't be depending on God for inspiration, for life, for this, so to speak. The world will be enlivening itself. The world with God will be one. Does it make sense to you? It doesn't make any sense to me, but that's what's going to be. What does make sense to us is that this terrible world with all that makes sense to us, right? It makes sense to us that there's wars and that there's taxes and that there's diseases. That makes sense, right? Put on a mask and get a shot. Oh, that makes sense to us, right? That makes sense. That everybody's healthy. You don't need anything. What's going to be now? Isn't that boring? Says the Rebbe, the whole goal is to unite the world with the essence of the Creator. So the essence of the Creator is revealed in this world more than it is in the upper worlds. And deeper, Mudgash, this is stressed, especially the idea when the moon is full in the we did this one second. I screw in my excitement, I scroll down. Okay, good. Okay. So in the month of Kislev, this is stressed more. No, I didn't scroll down. I didn't scroll down here. When the Torah was given, that was in the 3rd month, and that was uniting the Jewish people and God. That's the number 3. 2 opposites and one that unites them. That's 3. And even more, the 3rd of the winter months. The winter months, this stresses the oneness of God even more than the summer month. The summer month is when the revealed Torah was given on Sinai. The 3rd of the winter months, that's when the inner Torah was given. In the month of Kislev, when the first Rebbe of Chabad got out of prison. How can you compare the two of them? Says the Rebbe, I'm going to tell you something even more. The Kislev is even greater. The miracle that happened to the first Rebbe of Chabad getting out of prison is even greater than the giving of the Torah. How can that be? The main difference between the months, the summer months, that's when the revealed Torah was given, when the Torah was given on Sinai. In the months of the winter was when Hasidut was given. That in the months of the summer months, there shines light and warmth of the sun in a revealed way, even more than in the winter months. That summer, kayetz, huzman chom, it's pleasant, it's warm. The days, vayikra Elokim l'or yom, it says that God called to the light, he called day. Days are longer than the nights. The winter, chorif, Uzmanakor, it's cold. The night times are long. The Ikar, especially Tamsit, call Artsot, the Ikar Tamsit call Artsot, especially in the main place of the world, the Holy Land. Right? That's when there's places like in Australia and places like that where in the winter months the days are longer. When it's winter in Israel, so like in Australia and things like that, it's warm in the winter. If anything, it's changed. Anyway, in Israel, that's the way it is. In the winter, the nights are long and it's cold. What does that got to do with us? The months of the summer, Mudgash is stressed mainly the revelation of God from above to below. The sun shines, which is not the case the months of the winter. That's sort of like the dark side of the moon. The days of the winter, Mudgash is stressed mainly the service of the Jewish people, like the moon, from below to above. Lochin, therefore, when the moon is full, in the third of the summer months, since the main thing is the revelation of the sun in the sky, the illuminator of God, that's the summer months. And it's not so much because of the work of the Jewish people, the moon. So therefore, we can see clearly the difference between the mashpia, the sun, and the moon. That's in the summer months. What happened on the giving of the Torah? This giving the Torah was almost totally God. God did everything. God took the Jews out of Egypt. God split the sea. God gave us food, manna in the desert, and then He took us to Mount Sinai. Then God revealed Himself, and God spoke. And the Jewish people, they just received. That's the summer months. That's the giving of the revealed Torah. That's something like when the moon is getting full. This is still like the fullness of the moon as it receives from the sun. That's like the summer months. But the completeness of the moon in the winter months, the third of the winter months, and since the winter is mainly from our work, we have to heat ourselves up. It's dark. And that's like the moon. This is stressed more mainly the marriage of the Shlemus. This is like the completion of the marriage of the giving of the Torah. It's not in a way of God is giving and we're receiving. What was it? What was in Mount Sinai? God did everything. The Jewish people the Jewish people couldn't take it. It was too much. We don't want to be partners anymore. Moses, you do it. If not, we're breaking up the marriage. I can't take it. It's just it. The winter months, though, is when everything depends on us. So we are we're like partners with God. Yisrael and God are totally one. I'll make up a metaphor. Make it up. I'm making this up right now. Let's say that there's a person, a big genius, tremendously rich, kind, wonderful person, and he decides he's going to get married to a street urchin, whatever they call, right? A lady is begging on the streets. She got a dime, and for some reason, she finds favor in his eyes. He has mercy on her, or whatever it is, and he chooses her. I want to get married to her. His family says, "What are you, nuts? You crazy?" His friends say, "You're crazy." This lady, you know what she is? I mean, she's got an IQ of about 5, and she's poor. Her whole life is poor, and she's dirty. She says, "I don't know. I want to get married to her. That's what I want." So he comes, "I want to get married." She just can't believe it. You know, she would just like a donation. $1 is a big deal. This guy has millions. So no, that's what I want. So no. So they take her. She can't believe it, and the, the women come, the guy, the rich man's mother, his sister, whatever, and they clean this lady up and they try to teach her. I think there was plays that were My Fair Lady or something like this. Anyway, they treat her nicely and they wash her up and they teach her a little bit how to speak, a few sentences in English, that are sort of normal. She stops using slang, and she cleans herself up and says this, and they get married. So they get married. She doesn't know what in the world is she. This man is intelligent. He's rich. He's famous. He's nice, and she's just nothing. She's no personality. She's got no personality whatsoever. But he gives her everything. He brings her teachers and he brings her instructors and he gives her nice clothes and he bring friends and he introduces her and he says, this is how you act. Everything. She receives everything. Right? That's something like the Jews at Mount Sinai. The Jews were nothing. They were dirty. They were stupid. They had no idea what the Torah is. They had been slaves for 200 years in Egypt. Nothing. And God took them out. He took them out and he washed them up, right? And he cleaned them, took them through the Yam Suf, the split the sea, and this, gave them bread from heaven, cleaned them. It says that the clouds cleaned their garments. They went to Mount Sinai. They didn't know their marriage. They got married. And the Jewish people don't absolutely nothing about what is God, what is Torah, what is commandments. They know what is paro, what is how to make bricks. That's all they know. And God, that's like from the time of giving the Torah until Yutet Kislev. That's the Jews. There's good days, there's bad days. All of a sudden, the Jewish people, they start to get the point. They start to become intelligent themselves. They start maybe even to understand business. Then they can be a partner. They become a partner with God, an equal partner. Even when the husband goes out to business, she can take care of the business, take care of the house, she's kind, she gives to people, etc. Right? All of the qualities, the good qualities of her husband, she's also a full partner. That's like the giving. That's what Chassidut is supposed to be. Chassidut is supposed to teach us how we can be equal partners with God, self-motivated. Jews and God are totally one. That's the third month. That's the month of Kislev. So true, it's quieter. It's not so, impressive as the giving of the Torah. This is done quiet. But on the other hand, the accomplishment is much greater. Now, instead of having one rich, genius, intelligent, whatever, the kind person in the world, you have two, not only this one man, but also his wife also. The same thing, the Jewish people, they become the representatives of God. They do the job of God in the world on their own. What it says in the Torah, it's automatic. And that's what Chassidut is supposed to be, that our soul is the Jewish soul, the godly soul, that's what motivates us. That's why in Chassidut, they reveal this idea of the second soul. A Jew has two souls, a normal soul, so to speak, like everybody else, and a different soul, a godly soul. See if we can add on that this is also hinted in the name of Kislev. That this name, which is Kislev, the fact that we're coming from below to above, that's like the dark side of the moon. We're revealing the essence. This is the name of this third month of the winter months. Kislev contains in it two words. Kislev, we talked about this before. Kis means covering, and Lamed Vav. Kis means covering, concealment. Lamed Vav, this is the numerical value of Ele, these. You're pointing to something that you see. This indicates on Revelation. Shesha, 6 times 6. 6 times 6, that's the number of the emotions of God, 6 emotions. Joining them together, Kislev, covering over the 26, this indicates on a joining of what is concealed, the dark side of the moon. Like the winter months, the Jewish people, and Giloi, and the revealed part. The moon and the sun. I know that the essence, which is the concealment, which is concealed by the receiver, becomes revealed. Cave since it's not in a way of a giver and a receiver, but rather they become one. Kislev, the covering and the revelation become one. That which was covered, namely the ability of God, the essence of God, which is concealed from us, that becomes revealed to us. Again, we just to stress, the concealed part is, why is God doing all this? Why is he creating us? God, he's creating all the spiritual worlds. There's all these nebulae and these, whatever they call the galaxies and all the stuff in the sky. That's nothing compared to one angel. Nothing compared to an angel. It says that an angel is 3 times as big as the physical universe. Who knows what that means? One angel. And there's an infinite number of angels, it says. And it says there's 10,000 angels in every camp of angels. There's an infinite number of camps of angels. What does this mean? Right? We have no idea what it is. God creates all this. God is the creator of all this, right? But the question is, why is he doing it? He's doing it for us. Why? Why are we so important to God? Why doesn't it's totally incomprehensible? That's the dark side of the moon. That's the dark side. Now, it's so incredibly good and alive and precious that nobody can possibly understand it. It's not in the category of understanding. And that's what's revealed in the month of Kislev. That's the dark side. That's the winter months. That's in our service from below to above. This is revealed. Mudgas, this is also stressed in the Yom Tov, in the end of the month of Kislev, which is Chanukah. Chanukah is the end of this month, of the month of Kislev. We said Kislev is the revelation of everything that's hidden. What's Chanukah? Chanukah is the end of the month when the light of the moon is totally darkened. The end of the month. And this is stressed in actual and revelation of Mosif Aholech, adding more and more. How it in Chanukah, what do we do? How do we do the lights of Chanukah? Okay, the commandment on Chanukah is to light candles 8 nights. If all you have is 8 candles, and what are you supposed to do? Every night, light one light, only one. First night, one light. Second night, that's the commandment. You can make all the blessings and everything. The lights of Chanukah, 1 candle every night. You don't have to add on nothing. 1 light, that's sufficient. That's the minimum. Our custom is that nobody does it like that. No one. All the Jewish people. On the first night, we light 1 candle. The next night, we light 2. And we continue getting bigger and bigger. From day to day, we continue more and more light. This stresses that the becoming less of the lessening of the light of the moon. When do we start Chanukah? When the moon is getting at the very ultimate concealment. 25th day of the month, the moon is almost gone. 26th day of the month, it's even less. 27th day of the month, even less, until finally the moon is concealed. That's the holiday of Chanukah, begins right at the end of the month. What do? We're adding more light. Just like the dates of the month, we said, the end of the it's just because it's a lessening of the revelation of light, of the ray of light. Because it, like the sun, it gets closer to the moon. I'm sorry, because the moon gets closer to the sun, so therefore the light that's revealed to us becomes less. But really, it's not revealing, it's not concealing the essence of what the moon is. But day to day, that gets even bigger. And that we signify by lighting more and more candles. And at the end of the month, when the moon gets darker and darker and darker, how do we celebrate it? By making more and more light to show that maybe the moon is less, the light that's being reflected is less, but the source of light that we cannot see is more and more. And that's revealed in the lights of Hanukkah. Revelation of the essence. So with this, we can now understand why Yutet Kislev isn't when the moon is getting less and less, smaller and smaller, and this we'll talk about more, God willing, tomorrow. So what do we discuss? Let's just make a summary of this. What we're discussing. We're saying God wants to be revealed in this world. That's why God is creating the world. God is meaning, God is life, God is existence, God is purity, God is truth, God is love, God is power. All these things, harmony, all these things God wants to be revealed in the world in an infinite way. And the world can't receive infinity as it is now. It's like dark. So that's what Chassidut accomplished. That we'll want this revelation, we'll make vessels for this revelation, and we'll be able to reveal the dark side of the month when the moon is getting less. Really, what it means is that it's getting less, maybe in external revelation, but internally, it's infinitely more. The essence of godliness is becoming more and more revealed. And that's what Chassidut prepares us for, as we'll talk about more, God willing, tomorrow. Now let's do the Yom Yom 1 second.